This one is going to hurt a lot of people. This is going to hurt a lot of people. This was a well-known individual, and I had the pleasure of knowing him for a lot of years.
On a quiet Monday morning in October 2020, an aspiring rapper named Martez Hurt posted what would become his final message to the world. You deserve all good things life has to offer. Less than 1 hour later, the 28-year-old would be dead, executed in cold blood by his girlfriend's ex-husband in what authorities would describe as a premeditated ambush that had been building for months.
He was pretty much executed. He walked right up to the window of that vehicle that went through that fence and fired several rounds through that front passenger window. And then he walked off, just walked off.
But what really happened that morning? To understand how this tragedy unfolded, we need to go back to the beginning, to understand who Martez Hurt really was, and how he found himself caught in a deadly love triangle that would claim his life. Martez Hurt was born around 1992 in Washington, D.C., growing up in the inner-city projects amid poverty and the challenges that come with urban life. But from an early age, Martez showed something different, an entrepreneurial spirit that would define his entire life. As a teenager, he earned his nickname Money-Makin' Martez by hustling on the streets, selling sodas and water, turning a simple hustle into a philosophy that would carry him through the most challenging times of his life. At just 17 years old, Martez secured approximately $150,000 in scholarships through the DC College Success Foundation, a program supported by Bill Gates himself. He was accepted to over 30 colleges, ultimately choosing Florida A&M University to study criminal justice. The move from the projects of DC to the college environment of Florida felt like a leap from one world to another, from poverty to what he called paradise. But Martez's real passion wasn't just academics, it was music. At FAMU, music became his creative outlet, a way to express his journey from struggles to success. He wanted to inspire others, to give back to the youth who were walking the same difficult path he had once traveled. In 2013, he released his debut mixtape, Boss, which stood for Built on Self-Success, a project that emphasized positivity, self-reliance, and the power of determination. Martez's rise in the Florida college rap scene was impressive. He performed at FAMU's homecoming events and shared stages with major artists including Kendrick Lamar, Juvenile, Current, $Y, and Bobby Shmurda. Friends described him as having an I can't stop, won't stop attitude, a relentless work ethic that saw him balancing academics, music, and entrepreneurship with remarkable energy.
Feel me, dog?
What we gotta get, big dog? This cash, right?
You feel me, big dog?
Gotta get this money, man.
Yeah, you gotta get this money. You feel me? You feel me?
You feel me, big dog?
Yeah.
That's the only way we're gonna eat out here. That's the only way we're gonna survive.
Mm-hmm.
Getting this money, you know what I'm saying? You my home.
By his mid-20s, Martez had built an impressive independent music career. He had thousands of YouTube views, a growing social media following, and was selling CDs nationwide.
Yeah, I gotta stop fucking with these lazy hoes. I gotta stop sleeping in the studio. Lately I've been up and down a lonely road, chasing money, hoping it get closer to my goals. My mama died and it really hurt my soul. Hustle hard, I ain't really into selling souls. I just grind cause I'm just trying to get the gold. I know some niggas in the cold really hope I fold, but
He even launched a clothing line called Boss, selling shirts for $40 and hoodies for $60, merchandise that sold rapidly among his supporters. His entrepreneurial ventures extended beyond music. He became a motivational speaker, traveling to schools across the country to share his story of overcoming adversity. After graduating, Martez made the decision to relocate to Texas, continuing his entrepreneurial pursuits while chasing his rap dreams. It was in Texas that he would meet the woman who unknowingly led him into the crosshairs of a jealous ex-husband. The woman, whose identity has been kept private in most reports but is identified as Aries Davis in court documents, was recently divorced and trying to move forward with her life. But her ex-husband, 32-year-old Matthew Reshon Jacobs, was not ready to let go. The Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office had already responded to 3 domestic violence calls involving Jacobs and his ex-wife in March 2020, 7 months before the fatal shooting. When Martez began dating Jacobs' ex-wife, the situation escalated dramatically. Friends later revealed that there had been an ongoing feud between Martez and Jacobs, marked by tense interactions that grew increasingly hostile. Approximately 2 months before the shooting, the two men got into a physical fistfight in a Target parking lot, a confrontation that should have been a clear warning sign of the danger to come. But what happened the very next morning after that fight reveals just how dangerous Matthew Jacobs had become. According to reports, Jacobs allegedly accessed Martez's vehicle using keys and a GPS tracking device, waiting inside with a gun. This wasn't just jealousy. This was stalking, surveillance, and intimidation at its most dangerous level. Martez confided in his aunt Marlene Hurt that Jacobs had followed him home, revealing that Jacobs knew where he lived. The invasion of privacy and the escalating threats finally prompted his aunt to issue a stern warning. End this relationship before something terrible happens. In the week leading up to the shooting, Martez promised his aunt that he would leave the relationship. He agreed that the danger was real, that staying was too risky.
When he told me that the guy followed him to his house, he said, Marlene, he know where I live at. I said, Martez, you need to leave the girl alone.
But he didn't act fast enough. On the morning of October 26, 2020, at approximately 8:35 a.m., Martez Hurt and his girlfriend arrived at her home in the 2500 block of Amethyst Isle Lane in the Sienna neighborhood of Missouri City, Texas. It was a Monday morning in what should have been just another routine day. Parents were getting their kids ready for school, people were heading to work, and the neighborhood was beginning its normal weekday rhythm. But Matthew Reshon Jacobs had other plans. Surveillance video would later reveal that Jacobs had followed the couple into the neighborhood, waiting outside the home for them to arrive. This wasn't a chance encounter or a spontaneous act of passion. This was calculated, planned, and executed with chilling precision. As the woman exited the vehicle, Jacobs approached the driver's side. What happened next would forever change their lives. Jacobs fired multiple shots through the driver's side window, hitting Martez multiple times. In a desperate attempt to escape, Martez tried to drive away, but he lost control of the vehicle, crashing through a nearby fence into a resident's backyard. The car came to rest in the neighbor's yard, and it was there that Martez Hurt was pronounced dead at the scene, shot multiple times. Neighbors who witnessed the aftermath reported seeing Jacobs calmly walk back to his car with the gun still in his hand. There was no panic, no remorse visible on his face, just a man walking away from the scene of a murder he had just committed as if it were simply another item checked off his to-do list for the day. Fort Bend County Sheriff Troy Nels would later describe the shooting as an execution, emphasizing the premeditated and deliberate nature of the attack.
He was pretty much executed. He walked right up to the window of that vehicle that went through that fence and fired several rounds through that front passenger window. And then he walked off. Just walked off.
The shooting prompted a brief lockdown of nearby schools, including Ridgepoint High School, which was located about a mile from the scene. Parents rushed to check on their children, neighbors gathered in small groups trying to make sense of what had just happened in their typically peaceful community.
I hear 2 shots simultaneously, and then I hear a scream, but it also kind of sounded like an engine screeching. About 30 seconds or so, not even 30, probably like 15 seconds pass by, and then I hear either 3 or 4 more shots, followed by another scream.
Jacobs initially fled the scene in a 4-door grayish-black Audi with the license plate number MPJ4907. For several hours, a manhunt ensued, as Fort Bend County deputies searched for the suspect they considered armed and extremely dangerous.
And again, do not try to apprehend him in any form or fashion. If you see that vehicle traveling around these county roadways, call us. Call 911 if you have to.
His photo was released to the media, and authorities urged the public to call 911 if they spotted him, warning people not to approach or try to apprehend him. But at approximately 11:48 a.m., just a few hours after the shooting, Matthew Reshon Jacobs turned himself in to the Missouri City Police.
Andy, that news coming from the sheriff within the last 15 minutes, he tells us that the man that they have been looking for the last several hours is now in custody. We have a photo of the suspect who is now in the custody of Missouri City Police. This man.
Authorities confirmed that he had consulted with his attorney before surrendering, a detail that suggests he knew exactly what he had done and was already preparing for the legal battle ahead. Jacobs was immediately booked into Fort Bend County Jail and charged with murder, with no bond initially set. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Surveillance video, witness statements, shell casings recovered from the scene, and the testimony of his own ex-wife, who had narrowly escaped the bullets that killed her boyfriend.
Find out, why would you commit such a horrible, violent crime here at 8:30 in the morning?
One of Martez's friends, Ronald Vaughns, later shared chilling details about the extent of Jacobs' obsession. He revealed his belief that Jacobs had put a tracking device on his ex-wife's car or phone, allowing him to know their location at all times. He would sometimes pull up when the couple was together at night and send pictures of their vehicle parked outside, a terrifying pattern of stalking and intimidation that should have been a massive red flag.
The ex-husband put a tracking device on her car or either her phone, so he would pull up sometimes when they would be chilling at night and send pictures of her vehicle parked outside.
The tragedy of this case is that the warning signs were all there. Everyone could see that something terrible was building, but no one, not even Martez himself, truly believed it would end in murder. In January 2021, a grand jury indicted Matthew Reshon Jacobs on first-degree murder charges, officially accusing him of intentionally causing Martez Hurt's death. But here's where the story takes a puzzling turn, a turn that leaves us with more questions than answers. Court docket activity continued through September 2021, but after that point, there are no public records of a trial, a plea deal, or a verdict.